Kim Chul stumbles forward, breath short and ragged. The snow crunches beneath his feet, but he can't feel the cold anymore. His body is numb, his mind frantic. The forest around him looms tall and silent, coated in an icy shimmer that mirrors his own desperate isolation. His hands, reddened and trembling, are pressed together as he tries to warm them. "If I hadn't been starving all these days," he mutters through clenched teeth, voice shaking, "I wouldn't have lost." He trudges onward, away from the battlefield, away from the hierarchy, from the mangled bodies of his men, from the terror that almost consumed him whole. He doesn't know where he's going, only that it has to be anywhere else. Then he stops. His eyes widen up. Ahead, just beyond the thinning edge of the forest, lies a bizarre, disturbing sight, a massive heap of severed ice bear heads piled up in eerie silence. The frost glints on their lifeless fur, their expressions still frozen in deathly snarls. Blood stains the snow beneath them. Kim Chul's pulse spikes. What is this? His breath catches. He had just wondered where all the ice bears had disappeared to. Now he knows, and the answer makes no sense. He takes a hesitant step closer, his boots crunching through blood-smeared snow, squinting to make sure he's not hallucinating. This can't be, this is impossible. He glances around frantically. Did low-ranked hunters really do this? His pride resists the idea. There's no way. No E or D-rank hunter could possibly tear through an entire pack of ice bears, not this many. Then another possibility strikes him. No, his pupils shrink. It must have been the hierarchy there nearby. Panic seizes his body. His survival instinct roars louder than reason. Without waiting to think, Kim Chul breaks into a run, snow spraying up behind him, his fear overtaking whatever shred of composure he still had left. In the silence he leaves behind, only the wind speaks, carrying with it the faint aura of something far more dangerous than hierarchy, something that doesn't kill for fun. Something that commands shadows. The area surrounding the red gate seethes with tension, the very air trembling with raw, unrestrained power. The once composed gathering of elite hunters has devolved into a boiling pot of hostility and ego. Even nature seems to respond. Gusts of wind howl, snow kicks up in spirals, and the atmosphere crackles with the hum of impending violence. One of the S-rank masters, his expression dark, eyes glowing, lets the transformation begin. His hand contorts human skin, giving way to something more primal. Claws emerge, long and curved like daggers, capable of tearing flesh and shattering bone with a flick. He snarls under his breath, "You want a show? I'm always ready." Opposite him, the man from the States, Hwang Dongsoo, responds in kind. His posture tightens, muscles coiling like springs, and his presence alone makes weaker hunters stumble back in dread. A wicked grin creeps across his face. "Good," he mutters, raising his arm. "Let's see who breaks first." They move. A single devastating heartbeat of motion, two apex predators colliding, shockwaves blast outward, snow bursts into the air, nearby hunters scream and scatter, thrown back like leaves in a storm. Visibility is lost in the smoke and roaring wind, power crackles like thunder, and then a blur darts between them. Someone gets in the middle of this collision of giants. A figure, unyielding, arms raised, intercepts both their attacks. The smoke clears just enough to reveal him, a young man. Woo Jinchul, the S-rank, stare incredulous. Jinchul, breathing hard, rubs his wrists slightly singed from blocking the twin blows. He mutters, calm yet dry, "If either of you hadn't held back, I'd be picking my hands off the ground." Hwang Dongsoo's grin falters. Jinchul steps up, the one who had suspected Jin-Woo's power from the start, and speaks. "I knew something was off, but we tested his magic power 2 months ago. He was still in E rank." Chief On watches it all from the sidelines, silent but observant. His face bears a knowing calm that contrasts the chaos. He thinks to himself, they still don't get it. They're looking at power levels, rankings, and guild affiliations. But I've known Jin-Woo longer than any of them, and if I've learned anything, it's this: that boy is anything but weak. Back in the center of it all, Dongsoo's aggression cools slightly. The fire in his gaze fades to a low simmer. With a scoff, he turns away. "Not worth my time," he says. "I'm going to bed." The crowd parts in silence. On his way out, Dongsoo sneers at the stunned bystanders. What? First time seeing an S-rank fight? No one dares respond. The air calms. The crisis ends. But beneath the quiet, those who truly understand power, like Chief On, can't help but feel it. The moment of reckoning is coming. The fire crackled gently as the remaining survivors sat huddled together, the warm glow of the flames casting fleeting comfort over their tired faces. For the first time in what felt like days, laughter and casual conversation filled the space, soft and cautious like the breath of people who weren't yet sure they were safe. Among them sat Jin-Woo's group, relaxed content, sharing a warm meal, their tents set up neatly, surrounded by enough supplies to weather the storm both outside and within. And from the edge of the trees, a broken man watched. Kim Chul, half frozen and wild-eyed, peered out from behind a thicket. His body shivered, not just from cold but from disbelief. He stared hard at the camp, lips twitching, brows furrowed deep with fury. Low rankers, he thought bitterly. They're alive, they have food, tents, warm clothing. His gaze roamed, taking in every detail like a starving man forced to look through a feast behind glass. A half-eaten ration pack, a pile of dried meats, soft reinforced boots by the fire, laughter, and something snapped. His stomach growled savagely. His mind raced. If I had food. If I had shelter, I would have destroyed those damn hierarchy. They didn't share this. They let my team die. The survivors were too relaxed to notice at first until a shriek of rage pierced the woods. Everyone turned. Kim Chul stumbled into the clearing, his face twisted with hate, eyes sunken, voice hoarse but thunderous. So this is where all the supplies went. He yelled, his boots crunching snow with every angry step. My team died because we didn't have gear. One of the hunters tried to respond, wait, but Kim Chul cut him off viciously. Shut up. What, your mouths are sewn shut now. He paced forward, shoulders squared like a wounded predator, voice rising. This isn't a real team. You're just following someone like dogs. Tell me who hid the supplies. No one answered. The camp grew tense. Kim Chul's eyes darted toward the green-eyed girl Park Hee-jin, and he felt betrayed. She knew. She chose this side for a reason. Left us to die. The girl shrank closer to the others. Kim Chul, trembling with rage, began a countdown. 1 gasps. He began to draw his sword. 2. A man's face twisted in fear. 3. His blade gleamed as it left the sheath, but he never got to 4. A quiet shadow moved behind him. Jin-Woo appeared. With a single effortless flick, his hand connected with Kim Chul's back and launched the man face first into the frozen dirt, sending snow and pine needles scattering into the air. Gasps turned to cheers. Relief surged through the camp. The captain had arrived. The low-ranking hunters rushed to their feet, eyes wide with joy. Jin-Woo stood between them and the broken man, his presence radiating calm, unstoppable power. In that instant, it no longer mattered who was strong or weak, who had supplies or didn't. What mattered was this: their captain was here, and they were going to live. Jin-Woo stood tall, his gaze sharp as he turned to Kim Chul, who had just been thrown to the ground. His voice cut through the heavy silence that followed, carrying a weight of authority that made the air seem denser. Who here left his allies to die? His words rang out and the air seemed to freeze. The camp, already on edge from Kim Chul's outburst, became even more tense. The boy's voice, while calm, held an undeniable edge of menace. Not to mention, you've brought back dead weight. The phrase dead weight echoed in the minds of everyone present. It was unnervingly chilling, as if Jin-Woo had just condemned not only Kim Chul, but also the burden of his past failures. The cold, biting truth behind the words hit everyone harder than the harsh winds outside. The camp remained still for a moment as everyone tried to process the severity of what was said. One of the men, wrapped tightly in warm clothes, nervously shifted, trying to break the growing tension. He chuckled awkwardly, attempting to lighten the mood with a nervous question. Are you playing hide and seek now? With all this power around, there's no point hiding, right? The boy's cold stare didn't waver, but his eyes shifted slightly to the man, as if measuring his words. The question, though clearly intended as a joke, seemed to mock the gravity of the situation, and Jin-Woo wasn't one to entertain such distractions at a moment like this. He didn't respond immediately, but the silence that followed left everyone wondering just how far this conflict would go. Jin-Woo's footsteps were deliberate, his gaze focused ahead, his senses heightened as he led the group through the icy terrain. The oppressive atmosphere around them grew colder, but it wasn't just the weather that unnerved the group, it was something far more dangerous. Suddenly, the eerie silence was broken by the hesitant voices of his companions, their words fearful and uncertain. Look at them. Ice Elves, so many of them. Their voices trembled as they realized the magnitude of the threat in front of them. More than 21 Ice Elves stood before them, their presence so overwhelming that it seemed the very air around them had turned to ice. Each of the elves stood with an unsettling purpose, their cold eyes locked on the group, and one of them seemed to be staring directly at Jin-Woo. The boy stiffened, his senses on high alert as he felt the intensity of the situation. His eyes scanned the elves' movements, preparing himself for an imminent attack. The lead elf, with a voice like the wind's chill, spoke out, his words carrying a mocking tone. Such a valuable human, among the trash here. At these words, Jin-Woo's temper flared. His frustration was immediate and he snapped back. Did you just call us trash? The ice elf paused, clearly surprised that someone could understand his words. The other elves shared a confused look as they tried to process the situation. Jin-Woo, realizing his mistake, grew quiet, unsure of how to proceed, his mind racing. His thoughts flickered to the possible reason for the sudden communication. Was this connected to the system? Was that why he could understand them? The girl next to him, noticing his moment of reflection, asked cautiously, "Can you talk to monsters too?" Jin-Woo nodded slightly, his eyes narrowing as he focused on the lead elf. The ice elf, sensing the potential for communication, was intrigued. He spoke again, now with an air of curiosity. "How marvelous it is, someone who can actually talk to us. There's someone I'd like you to meet." Jin-Woo looked at one of the elves, the name clicking in his mind. They had met before. The same elf had spoken of a powerful human among the group. But before anything more could be said, the lead elf raised his hand to gesture toward a nearby elf as if signaling something important. Without warning, Jin-Woo acted. The elf's words trailed off as his head tumbled from his shoulders, his body collapsing to the ground. The group stood in stunned silence, but Jin-Woo, undeterred, turned to face the apparent leader of the Ice Elves. His voice was cold, a clear promise of danger. "Anything else you want to say?" The Ice Elf was silent for a moment, his bright eyes locked on Jin-Woo as if processing everything that had just transpired. Then, without warning, the elf's face broke into a wide grin, his demeanor shifting. "You're quite the amusing human, doing things so quickly. I like that." His tone was no longer hostile, but something more playful. The sudden shift in mood was unsettling, but Jin-Woo didn't flinch. The confrontation was far from over, but the tension in the air had changed. The ice elf now seemed more intrigued than aggressive, as if he was awaiting something more from Jin-Woo.